to Reality Tea Times 2, the podcast where we discuss all the trash reality TV we love to hate. I'm Tanika, and today we are going to be discussing 90 Day UK, the most recent episode. So, we don't have any hot calls to discuss on the top of the episode, so let's jump into the reason that we are here. 90 Day UK, Season 3, Episode 7, She Calls It Cheating. So let's start with Jamie and Kathleen. So we are playing Monopoly. We're back in England. And I realized halfway through that he's actually one of those gaming places. So it's fine. He tells his friends that Kathleen was kind of cold. She told me that I'm just not romantic. But you're not. And this was said by his friend Charlotte. We're going to find out a little bit more information about Charlotte, which is right now. Apparently him and Charlie is a date. And she's like, he sucked. He wasn't romantic at all. And she says, I told you, you have to be romantic. Cook her a meal, get flowers, put up candles, do something. He ain't gonna do any of those things. You wanna know why? Because he is a spoiled mama's boy. Anyway, he says, I do need to man up more, don't I? Yeah, you fucking do, if you want to use that terminology. Anyways, he's like, listen, clearly, I need professional help. So let's go to see a dating coach. No, sir, try a therapist. But anyways, he's seeing this coach. He's like, I just don't understand women. And I don't understand you. So she's like, so what do you think romantic means? What does romance mean to you, Jamie? And he says, well, calling her, using words like baby, honey. I sent her money too. That's romantic, right? No, it's not. She's like, so what do you, know about her? What could you use? The knowledge you have, what could you use to, be more romantic? And he says, well, she likes karaoke, and what else she likes. That seems problematic. He's like, I don't know. I feel like there's a barrier between us. So he says, okay, so then what created that barrier? Well, we broke up, right? And I kind of started talking to her friend. She calls it cheating, name of the episode. But I don't, because we weren't together. When I started talking to the friend, that's besides the fucking point. It's still just not right. Anyway. He's like, I would never do that again. He's like, there's just no comparison between the two of them. That's the reason. Not that I had a lapse in judgment, whatever. There's just no comparison between them. She actually takes care of me. The other one wouldn't even do that. You know what I mean? She's like, well, maybe I could write her a poem. Maybe that's a romantic gesture. This is going to be great, guys. So he's like, I haven't written a poem since school. And when I wrote a poem then, I got kicked out of the class because my poem didn't rhyme. So the teacher kicked me out of the class. Wow. I didn't know that's what people did. I didn't know you could just get kicked out of class because, God forbid, you didn't rhyme a poem. You didn't rhyme, would with could or something. You know what I mean? So then we see him. Okay, yeah, here we go. So yeah, he says, your personality is like a warm summer's day. What? So he's writing this poem. He's actually in a cafe writing the poem because it'll be better. And then he'd be more proactive there than he would be at home. He'd get distracted and stuff. So he's like, I want to look at you like a book. That's a little bit creepy. Let me off the hook so I can look at you like a book. Yeah, that's a good one. Let me write that down. He's like, it's coming from my heart. Oh, I got another one. I want to be your fire extinguisher and wipe up all of your problems. Listen to me. I literally wrote, what the fuck? A fire extinguisher doesn't wipe away your problems. If anything, it's going to create more shit that you'll have to actually wipe up after you deal with the situation at hand. Like, I don't know if he knows the definition of a fire extinguisher, because you don't use a fire extinguisher to wipe something up. Anyway, it took me a minute too, because I actually had to rewind it. I'm like, wait a minute, what? But anyways, he's like, I miss you very much, like a coffee machine. And then something about coffee beans. We'll get to it. He's like, I really hope she's going to like it. So we are still in this cafe, and he has a video calling Kathleen, and he asks her, so how's Cyprus? It's cold. He's like, yeah, it's cold here in England too. Anyways, he's like, so I'm going to be trying to be a little bit more romantic. So in order to kick off the romance, I wrote a poem for you. And he's like, here I go. Get ready, guys. Of course, I wrote this down. He says, okay, ready, guys? To my darling Kathleen, I feel like I'm in a library. I want to know all about you. Your caring personality is like a warm summer's day. You are my sugar and coffee. You're sweet and scrumptious. You're like a menu. I want to know all about you. So please let me inside you, record scratch. He's like, oh wait, please let me inside, as I would like to be your fire extinguisher and hose down all of your problems. There you go. Protect you. So please let me off the hook. And I want to study you like a book. Lastly, I miss you so much, like a coffee missing its coffee beans. And this is where you go. He says, I love you. And there's just silence, because Kathleen is trying to repress the laugh that everyone else is currently experiencing, but she's trying to suppress it. And she's like, thank you. He's like, wasn't it just the best poem you've ever heard? Sure. Yeah. And she's kind of laughing. She's like, so how about some feedback? Feedback? You don't give her a romantic gesture of whatever the fuck this was and say, can I have some feedback? What? No. You know, sir, you may not have any feedback. Anyway, he's like, I do have so much to prove, you know? I have to be more romantic with her so that, you know, she's not gonna like kill me or something, you know, or leave me. That's the other option. Anyways, that is it for Jamie and Kathleen. Let's move on to Sam and Allie. So we are going outside in this interesting weather situation. It is raining, it is windy. It's not great. It's quite miserable, I will say. But we're going right by the sea, and she's like, what the fuck? She's like, if there is a huge wave, I'm going to be so vexed. And we're going right up to it, and she's like, you know, do I look like a fucking hiker? She's like, I don't do exercise. I do extra fries. Listen, that's a fucking good line, but it's also a little bit problematic. And this is coming from a person who likes to eat a lot of sweets. So yeah, anyways, she's like, so whose fucking idea was it to do this? It was his idea to do this. So she's like, I want to ask you why you want to go to England. You know, you mentioned England and all the different things. You can get the money, the jobs, and whatever, but you don't mention me. Like, what about that? It's not like it's any different. It's the same place, just different money. It's not the same place, nor the same money. None of it's the same. She's like, if you think you will get, rich, then maybe you should stay here. And she's like, the employment rate is high. And he's like, that's good. She's like, how the fuck is that good? That's not good. That's not good. To no one who has any jobs, because, ma'am, he doesn't understand the definition of the employment rate. He thinks that that's a good thing when you, maybe to make it easier, say that the percentage of unemployed people is high. Maybe then he'll understand. But she just freaks out, that maybe he doesn't quite understand the reference because he's 23. But anyways, he says, well, they're all lazy people. They don't want to work. I want to work. I'm Turkish. I work hard. I don't know if that's necessarily the issue here. And I think we need to be very careful calling British people lazy, because they've had some issues, for years now when it comes to the employment rate. So yeah, not great. He's like, so how many times do I have to tell you that I'm not with you for money? She's like, well, the proof is going to be in the pudding, as we say in my country and everywhere else. We're now at the end of her trip. It's later on, and we're seeing his friends who we've met before. There's Ishmael, and then the other one's name I can't remember now. And so they ask, like, so how's the visa going? And he's like, so do you have 5,000 pounds? Because shit. He's like, it's tough because she works quite a bit to try to make this work. She's working a 9 to 5, and then she's working a 6 to 11, and then she's working on weekends. Like, she doesn't seem to have a break. And obviously he's working, and in response to what she says about working a lot, he's like, well, you live a lazy, or no, sorry, refresh. Wasn't him saying it to her. It was her saying to him that he lives a lazy lifestyle because I guess he doesn't work as hard as she does. And it's kind of mean to say. But she says, you game a lot. She's like, no gaming in England. And he's like, oh. She's like, no. As soon as we get down there, we're gonna buy me a PS whatever the fuck. And she's like, no, we're gonna be dealing with paying off the visa. We're not gonna be doing that. And he does need an outlet, though, that you can't have him not do. Why can't he just bring his, you know what I mean? Why do you need to buy a new one? Anyway, Ishmael says, do you want any British girls for me? I'm like, what? And he's like, she literally says, how about my mom? She's single. And to get a little bit more serious, Ishmael does say that the reality is going to hit once he leaves. Because I guess they share a room together, that he's going to wake up on, and Allie's not going to be there. And that's maybe a little tough for him to kind of realize. And this, for some reason, seems to really hit Sam. And she starts crying. And she's like, that is so sad. Like, I know I'm making fun of her. I love the fact that she's aware, like, he is leaving something behind, but the reaction, man, it was something. She's like, that is so sad. She's like, clearly he's leaving to be with me. Why would he leave everything behind, otherwise? She's like, you're breaking his heart when you leave. I feel so bad. That really made me sad. I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ. But anyways, it's the next day, and Sam is packing, and she's like, who brings hangers to on vacation? Yeah, who brings sand to the beach? It's a really good question. I don't understand why you bring hangers. I guess in this case, it's Kyle doesn't just throw it in there. He's waiting for her at the car, and he literally says, as she's standing in front of him, don't cry. And she's like, okay, well, you gotta be a good boy. He's like, I'm always a good boy. And she's like, make sure you pass your English exam. He's like, I will. And she leaves at that point. And it was interesting because I felt like this was kind of the first time, and maybe one of the only times, we saw her actually being nice to him. I don't know what changed, whatever. But he then ends it off by saying, well, there goes my heart down the road. It's fucking beautiful. I had to write that down. Anyways, that's it for Sam and Ali. We are going to take a quick break here, and when we come back, we will finish up the other two couples. Hi everyone. So I have another song for you to take a listen to. This one is by Jenya Carter. That's Jenya spelled Jenya Carter. And this song is called Rewind. And I did get this song on the PodSafe music directory on the World Podcast Network. And if you do like the song, you can go down to the show notes where there will be links to the song for you to listen to and download, including the link for the PodSafe music directory. But without further ado, I am going to play that song for you now.
6 feet undulated in hell, I've lost myself again. Not acquainted, more ashamed, tired of this twisted game. Hold my hand as I go down, darkness swallows every sound. If I've gone too far this time, tell me please, can I rewind? Learn the past and pay the fine. With all my heart, I'm done this time. Rain on fire, bring the rain. Tell me to slow down again. If I'm wrong, does that make you right? Or want to just let go tonight? Hold my hand as I go down, darkness swallows every sound. If I've gone too far this time, tell me please, can I rewind? Learn the past and pay the fine. With all my heart, I'm done this time. Faith is washed out with the tide. Tell me, do I have more time? Don't feel wrong, but don't feel right. Don't want to be alone tonight. I'm upside down, water in my lungs, trapped in this grave I've dug. The sea's too strong, the sails will break. Not sure how much more to take from you. If I've gone too far this time, tell me please, can I rewind? Learn the past and pay the fine. With all my heart, I'm done this time. Faith is washed out with the tide. Tell me, do I have more time? Don't feel wrong, but don't feel right. Don't want to be alone tonight. 6 feet under, sinking in the ground is swallowing me up again. 6 feet under, crying out, please can I rewind somehow?
And I am back. So let's jump in with Tony and Nui. So we are seeing Tony's sister, who actually lives in Scotland. He says, it's nice to see you again there, sister. How's it going? It's really nice to see you again. Who says it's nice to see you again to your fucking sister? If you have like this really good relationship with her, you know what I mean? Who says it's really nice to see you again? What the fuck? Anyways, they kind of then sit down and his sister asks Nui, so why my brother? I mean, he's got a lot going for him. Okay. What if you end up going back to your ex? For example, like, first of all, number one, no, he doesn't have that much going for him. Let's calm the fuck down. Number two, would you go back to your ex if you're done with him? Even kids or no kids, like, would you go back to your ex? No. So why is it this assumption that Thai girl is gonna go back to her ex. Like, what the fuck? Like, it's so fucking ridiculous. But anyways, she's like, no, there's nothing going on with me and him. It's over with the kids, and that's it. No shit. But Tony's like, I do have trust issues for sure. And his sister's asks, so can you trust Nui? He says, yeah, but I'm not always there. Yeah, but are you serious? But she wants to make him happy. They love each other. And she's his sister with a fucking B. Like, yeah, do you really? So, do you spend money on her? Like, a lot of money on her? And he's like, yeah, I support her. He transfers money to her account every week. She says to me, maybe you only want him for money. Like, I don't know. But she says, well, if I wanted it for money, like, why would we be talking about him potentially moving to Thailand? Like, he might move to Thailand. His sister, again, without a beat, thinks that she can tell him, grown-ass man, when he can and cannot do, literally says, you're not moving to Thailand. Where the fuck do you think you're going? I'm moving to Thailand. There's nothing in Thailand. What the fuck? And Nui's very upset because this is not the way it was supposed to go. Because she says having the approval of the family is very important, not only to her, but to her culture. So, not good. But Nui and Tony are alone in the room, and, he's like, yeah, I think how she says, and he agrees, they're feeling surprised by the questions that were asked. And she says, like, what if he is convinced to not love me anymore? Like, if his sister really doesn't like me. And she is feeling kind of homesick now at this point. She doesn't want to be alone in there anymore. And she's very emotional, and I feel for her. Like, this sister is ruthless. But anyways, in the next scene, Nui is going to be going into Glasgow by herself to go get ingredients to cook a traditional Thai meal. Tony tells his sister because again, Nui's by herself, so he stays back and talks to his sister, and he's like, you really did scare her. Like, the questioning was a lot. She wasn't expecting any of it. Neither was I. So, it was kind of a lot. And he tells her, I am really serious about her. You want to know how the fuck serious I am about her? I'm actually thinking about proposing. And his sister's like, isn't it too fucking soon to be proposing? How long have they been together again? I can't remember. I feel like it's been at least a year. I mean, when you're in your 40s, anyways. He bought the ring. He's ready to go. But she's like, but you don't know, like, her. You don't know your plans. You're kind of jumping the gun at this point. Like, what the fuck? And he's like, maybe, or I think his sister says, maybe he's rushing into this because he's a little bit unsure because he hasn't really, been in like a committed relationship before. And yeah, maybe. So anyway, Nui is now back. She's going to be starting cooking. Tony is really impressed by the fact that she was able to do the shopping on her own. No issues. And not only that, I got change back. Good to know where your priorities lie. Nui says that she will feel like the love in her food, and hopefully his sister will also feel the love in the food, which will then in turn maybe have her love me too. And she's kind of like looking around and getting everything situated, and she literally is looking for a different pot, and she's like, hold on, hold the fucking phone. I have a problem. I have a stage 4 problem. Where's the fucking wok? Don't think this girl from Scotland has a wok just ready to go. You're gonna have to figure that out. But then we see everyone sitting down, ready to eat food, ready to go. I forgot to mention this. His sister did say before, I hope the food isn't spicy, because, whatever. And they do eat the food, and his sister says, like, in the moment that she cannot hide her true feelings. Like, it'll come out on her face. And she says that she does like the food. So it's a little spicy for me, but I do like the food. And yeah, that's great. And she says, listen, I do definitely appreciate you cooking this food for me and the family. And I really do appreciate that. And the Nui and the sister get up and hug each other. And the sister ends it off by saying, welcome to the family. What the fuck? Y'all making me think that she's gonna have to fight hard tooth and nail to have acceptance from this family. But in 2-2s, y'all good? Just not fair. I want more drama. I mean, I love it for her because I like Nui. But I need more drama, y'all. What the fuck? Anyways, that's it for Tony and Nui. Let's end this off strong with Sprite and John. So it's 7 a.m. and Sprite is actually waking up early because he is going to be actually going to volunteer at a photo shoot with a friend of his. And he's waking up John to take him there. And John is like, listen, you know that I sleep in. Okay, you woke me the fuck up. Don't fucking do that again. Wow. And he's like, are you gonna be home to cook later? And why does he need to be home to cook for you? You can't fucking figure it out. And he's like, what time are you gonna get home? No, we're not gonna get home late. He says, well, I'll try to be home by 6, hopefully. And he's like, John's like, well, yeah, you better be home. What the fuck is this? This is fucking disgusting. So you think because he's there that he's your fucking maid? He's gonna want to try and build a life for himself, and part of that life is not going to be for him to be home to cook you, unclean spinach and feed it to you. You know what I mean? Like, he's not your fucking maid. Like, what the fuck? This is so gross. Anyway, we see Sprite at the photo shoot. He's, feeling right at home with the camera. He loves the camera and he's really good at what he does. And this seems to really be making him feel excited of the idea of moving to do this. But then it's going to be fucking short-lived because of fucking John. John's getting home from work and he's calling out to Sprite, and Sprite, where are you? And there's no Sprite. Sprite's not home. And John is feeling disappointed that John is not home. He's like, listen, I want to make sure all the time is spent on me. He's only here for a certain amount of time. He's like, I haven't spoken with him all day, but he sure as hell has been posting on IG. He's like, well, I guess it's ham and cheese sandwich for dinner today. And let me tell y'all, that sandwich was sad. Duh. You couldn't, at least toast the fucking bread to give it a little bit of oomph? You know what I mean? You couldn't have done something better to Pam? Jesus Christ. Anyways, it's the next morning. John is annoyed. He's like, I want to know, what time did you get home? And Sprite's like, I don't know. He's like, well, it must have been late because I was already in bed and you weren't home. Yikes. He's like, so how did you get home? Taxi? He's like, yeah, I get home from work and you're not here, and I don't want to hear her make me food, and where's Sprite? Don't know where the fuck Sprite is. And he's like, what the fuck? He's like, I saw you on IG. You didn't message me back, even though you were on IG and you're posting stories and shit. And he's like, and about some stories, who's this guy that seems to be appearing on your messages and stuff like that? Like, what's up with this person? And he's like, what? He's like, can't remember her name. Can't remember her name, but the person he was doing the photo shoot with. And he's like, is it her brother? Is it her brother? Did you fuck her brother? Because apparently everyone's gonna want to fuck all the same people you want to fuck John. And anyways, he's like, is it her brother? Did you fuck him? What's up? And he's like, no, it's not her. No. He's like, and that's not her brother, that's her husband. He's like, oh, okay. Sure it is, Sprite. And I mean, I don't know whether here or there or what it is, and Sprite kind of stands up for himself though in this moment and says, listen, you're creating drama out of nothing, and then in turn gives you the quote unquote right to treat me like shit. And he's like, maybe I can't move here because you kind of want me to be trapped here to be, do all this shit for you, meanwhile, like, what about my life? You know what I mean? Like, and that's very true. Like, he's not coming here to be your housemaid. But then John takes basically what he said about like, maybe not staying there. And he's like, well, then maybe you should go and then not come back. Basically, it's kind of what he says. Like, then go, like, don't stay here then. You shouldn't be here then, or whatever the fuck he said. Sprite gets up at this point, throws a piece of toast at him. So fucking funny. And storms off upstairs. And John just yells, fuck you. Nice one. And he's like, I'm not, or so Sprite says, I'm not moving to the UK to be a house bitch. Put that on a t-shirt. Okay. I'm not a house bitch. And John is basically like, I should be the priority. If I'm not, then I don't want him here. He is not here to be your house bitch, sir. He's not here to be your sex slave, sir. He's not here for any of those things. You should be able, and like, hello, like, it's just be how it is, to go out there and make sure he is maintaining his career. His career is very important to him. And if yours isn't, that's your fucking problem. But if his career is important to him, then you can't take that away from him. All of this whole segment with them in this episode was gross on John's part. I mean, are we surprised? No. But anyways, that is it for 90 Day UK for this week. I usually don't do the next time ons on this, but this particular one, I had to write it down for the next time on, because y'all know I've been saying, where the fuck are the people we've been waiting to see? But then we hear out there in the distance, we just hear, I love you, chicken. And I'm like, fucking finally. So that is what we can expect for the next episode of 90 Day UK. But until then, that is it for this episode. So if you like what you heard, please rate, review the podcast on either Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Also, don't forget that you can also share us with everyone in your life if you really love this. And I do want to read those reviews. I'm definitely getting 5-star ratings, but I want to read those reviews. So send me those reviews and I will read those 4 and 5-star reviews on the podcast. Also, we're on every one of your favorite podcast apps. Every one of them, including, you can find us on YouTube at Reality Tea Times2. If you want to connect with us, you can do so by going to either Facebook or Instagram at Reality Tea Times2. You can also find us on Twitter, TikTok, Reddit at Reality Tea Times2 Pod. We also have our email, which is at realityteatimes2 at hotmail.com. Definitely want to hear from you guys. And we also have our new website where you can listen to all of these episodes. You can review the podcast on there as well. You can connect with me in any way, all the stuff. It's all there, and you can find me there at www.realityteatimes2, all spelled out, .podpage.io. It's there. And don't forget, I also have my other podcast with my friend Mikkel, Next Take Podcast, where we talk about all kinds of different topics. But you can find us on any of your favorite podcast apps over there as well. Or you can also go to YouTube, and you go to Next Take Podcast, as well as our website, which is solo.to/Next Take Podcast. So yeah, there's that, and that's basically that. And again, don't forget, if all of this information is overwhelming, we do have all of the links, everything in our show notes. But that is it for now, guys. Thanks. Bye.